as you can see from the title of this video down here, gay coffee shop owners verbally attack Christians and kick them out. And this is, of course, an interesting contrast to these cases over the last few years where Christian bakers refused to bake wedding cakes for homosexual weddings, and there were legal repercussions, but I doubt there will be any for these intolerant homosexuals. But let's watch the video first.
Well, I'm gay.
Okay.
You have to leave.
So are you denying us service?
I am, yeah.
So why aren't we allowed to stay? Because
This is offensive to me. I own the place.
Was it
I have a right to be offended.
Yeah.
So I have a right to say,
Did anyone
Right.
buy anything in the store?
I didn't know.
No.
I don't know.
So
Where did
so
this
then,
come from? That came from outside the store.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a lot of us in the city. I didn't leave
So-
anything in your store.
so something you found on public property.
I saw
yeah,
it.
you
That-
just said, you
that
just
we-
admitted
right, so-
shut up. You just admitted to it
Yeah.
being you.
Right.
Yeah.
So
shut up.
what about it
So
offends
shut
you?
up.
Okay.
There's nothing else you can say.
So
This is you.
so we're not
I
welcome
do
here.
not want these
You-
people in this place.
So you're not willing
This
to tolerate
is
our presence?
extremely offensive. Can you
Right.
tolerate my presence?
We are.
Right. We're actually in a
Really?
coffee shop.
Really?
Well, hey,
If I go get my boyfriend right now and fuck him in the ass right here, you're going to tolerate that? That would be your choice. Are you going to tolerate it?
Well,
It's your
we're not gonna
place.
watch
Answer my fucking question. No, you're going to sit right here and fucking watch it.
Well, no, I mean we don't want to
Well,
watch
then
that.
I don't have to fucking tolerate this.
Well, that's true. I mean, you
Then
don't.
leave. All of
Happy
you.
to.
Tell all your fucking friends don't fucking come here.
Okay.
Okay.
Just know that Christ can save you from that lifestyle.
Yeah, I like ass. I'm not going to be saved by anything. I'd fuck Christ in the ass, okay? He's hot.
You would be burned.
Okay, great.
Okay.
It's not a joke. Good, I'm glad. You won't be.
Okay, we'll pray for you guys. If
Stay
there's somebody
away,
here,
dear.
all right.
Thank you.
All righty then. Well, see ya.
Okay, so he basically kicks them out because he's offended. He's holding some paper, I guess it's some sort of Christian propaganda or whatever, and he's offended, but he's not even like referring to like some religious freedom or something. He's not saying that he's offended because of his religious reasons. It's just he's offended and my emotions. That's basically his argument. But I doubt they're gonna like press charges or anything, or the coffee shop will have to pay a fee or anything like that. And he said something about like fucking his boyfriend in the ass. Like, would they leave or would they see and watch it or whatever? But if I went to coffee shop and even there was like a heterosexual couple having sex, I guess I would leave. I find it disturbing if people have sex in the public. Like, I don't like, if I go to a coffee shop, I probably want to be, have a relaxing time with my friends or whatever. But no, and of course he talks about fucking Christ in the ass or something, and those Christians, they're behaving quite in a, let's say, like in a very calm and respectful manner still, even though this guy doesn't deserve any respect. But yeah, let's take a look at like this. Okay, this is from Northern Ireland in the UK. There was some baker that refused to bake a cake to a homosexual wedding, and the judges upheld ruling that Asher's Bakery discriminated against gay men by refusing to make cake with pro-gay marriage slogan. So he had to pay £500 compensation. At least it wasn't more than that. Like, it could have been. I think in the US some bakeries had to pay like huge sums of money. And at least there was like this case from America. Christian baker fears loss of everything unless Supreme Court upholds right not to make cakes for gay marriage. And I think the Supreme Court did uphold their like religious right not to bake the cake, which is good. So I guess this thing is still in court, or something like the Supreme Court. They're still deciding on it. But yeah, it says state agency and court decision said Phillips must bake such cakes after a gay couple complained about him in July 2012. That's like 5 years ago already. But anyway, like, I think there's many more. I'm not sure how many, but this isn't the first thing that there's, at least trouble, whatever, however, like the, Supreme Court is gonna rule this, or is still making it very difficult for these Christians to simply have a business and obey like their religion, follow their religion. But of course there's like things like this. Some Muslim bakers refuse to bake a cake for a gay wedding, but there is no protest or anything. These lefties and homosexuals, they're just quietly like, okay, I guess they don't want to bake us a cake. And well, it's obvious because this is how most Christians tend to act, like when somebody does something offensive towards them, they're like, okay, we'll leave. Whereas Muslims might just get out a machete or something. And maybe the Muslim approach is, I don't know, wiser here, perhaps. So it's just interesting how there's like different laws based on whether it's your race or religion. Like in Rotherham, this pedophile or like this child trafficking scandal that lasted for like almost 15 years of Pakistani Muslims trafficking children and teenagers or whatever. And the police told Rotherham pedophile ring victim not to say attackers were Asian. And notice it's the police saying, so it's not like, I think it's unfair just to blame these quote unquote Asians or Muslims. They're certainly a part of it, but you should note that the political establishment in the UK is clearly in on this, whatever it is that they are doing. So you shouldn't only blame the Muslims, also blame these fucking pedos in the UK government. This isn't like, Jimmy Savile and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, there's also another recent interesting event from the US on the religious rights. Satanist wins transfer of her abortion rights case to the Missouri Supreme Court. So a Missouri woman who is an adherent of the Satanic Temple won a victory in court last week in her quest to show that state abortion law violates her religious beliefs. The Western District Court of Appeals ruled in her favor Tuesday, writing that her constitutional challenge, rare for its basis in religion, presented a contested matter of right that involves fair doubt and reasonable room for disagreement. The woman, identified as Mary Doe in court documents, argued that her religion does not adhere to the idea that life begins at conception, and because of that, the prerequisites for an abortion in Missouri are unconstitutionally violating her freedom of religion protected by the First Amendment. So, because this woman, Mary Doe, is a Satanist, she has the right to murder her child. Like, I suppose, like, if an atheist or a Christian or a Muslim were to try to murder her children, it's like, no, but you're a Satanist, so you have this Satanist privilege. So the right to, like, to uphold to follow your religion or whatever, the right to your own religious beliefs doesn't apply to Christians, but it does seem to apply to Muslims and to Satanists. This should be very like disconcerting to anybody. And I'm not a Christian, but certainly I do think that Christianity is a superior religion to Satanism. Like, I would rather have my neighbors be Christian than Satanist, or like my politicians to be Christians than Satanists, or like even Muslims. I don't think Islam is satanic, so I do think that I would rather have Muslim neighbors than Satanists. And it's not whether or not you believe in actual Satan, some demonic or entity or whatever, or whether the Satanist, like I see this all over the internet, like, oh well, if they don't really worship Satan, they don't believe. Well, what the fuck do they believe in? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but like if somebody is a Satanist, like, no, there's something wrong with them. They're like, it's like either they believe in this, evil entity that they worship, or they don't. They just use his name for their religion, and they don't really believe in anything, but they don't even have the decency to call themselves atheists. Like, come on. Like, no, I don't think that, Satanists should have any rights for their religion. Like, no, like, if this is what they're using it to murder children. Like, I saw this picture, which states it all, Planned Parenthood, and there's a statue of Molech and somebody's sacrificing their child to it. That's what they used to do according to the Bible back in the Middle East, over 2,000 years ago, and that's what they're doing in modern America nowadays. And it is worship of Molech. It is human sacrifice. It is sacrifice of babies. And once again, it doesn't really matter if Molech is an actual demon somewhere in the netherworld, or whether these women who love sacrificing their children to it, whether they actually believe in Molech or not. The idea is they're still de facto worshipping this demonic entity, and I don't know if I believe in Molech as any kind of real entity or Satan or anything, but people who go through the motions of worshipping these demonic entities, there's something wrong with them. So yeah, and many people are like, this is where, like, I guess once again, the limits of how much freedom and liberality you should have. Like, I don't think people should have the right to murder their children, like, especially if they're not trying have, like, I suppose I understand, like, if the pregnancy endangers the woman, like, it's still, I wouldn't be for abortion, but at least it's in like an argument. But no, I'm a Satanist, therefore I have to kill my child. It's not an argument. Like, no, that's just sick, that's evil. And I'm not saying that Christianity is necessarily good, but it's certainly a lot better. Like, actual Christian who follows the Bible and stuff. I don't think it's really, like, a lot of people like to bitch about Christianity, and I certainly have done so, especially when I was younger. But I think the main failing in Christianity is that most Christians don't know, they don't read the Bible. Like, they don't know what it says. They just listen to their priest or whatever pedophile pope they have or whatever. They should read the Bible instead of believing any. And yeah, I'm not saying I don't necessarily believe that Bible is the unaltered word of God or anything, but I do think it has a lot of wisdoms that probably used to be self-evident to many non-Christian groups in the distant past, but nowadays they're not self-evident because we've just gotten dumber and dumber and more immoral and stuff. And yeah, it does sort of activate my hormones, like, Muslims are, like, when they rape children or something, their excuse, whether you name them Asians or Muslims, still they are Asian Muslims who were raping children. And of course the police were, I don't know if the police were involved in like trafficking or raping, but certainly they were protecting them. And I don't think it's just, this liberal shame of being called racist. I do think there was something else going on. But anyway, and when, Satanists are given privileges, but, Christians, they are penalized by the state for merely, refusing to bake a cake. Like, and then, like, I'd like to see if this gay coffee shop owner, if, somebody actually sues him for discrimination or something. Although I don't think, I'm not fan of, like, solving stuff like this in the court. I think it's, people should just wake the fuck up and notice that most homosexuals seem to be like that. Like, there's probably some who have a problem with this guy's bigotry and, disrespectful behavior. But based on what I've seen in the last few years, most don't seem to have this, sense of decency. And hey, please prove me wrong. Show me that there are, like, not just like, hey, this one homosexual on Twitter said that, yeah, he doesn't approve of this. Like, I don't see them like, gay activists or whatever. Like, here it refers like somebody is a gay activist or some homosexual rights activist. So yeah, local gay rights activist Gareth Lee, blah blah blah. He is fighting for gay rights, and he's not writing for equality. He is fighting for gay privilege. Like, this woman was fighting for Satanist Molech worship privilege. Like, if a homosexual wants to, fight for equality and stuff, well, I don't think that homosexuality can ever be equal to heterosexuality, simply due to basic biology. Man, woman, they have sex, they can have children. Two men, two women who have sex, they cannot have children. There's like this, biological imperative. But sure, like, if homosexuals manage to prove that they are not just, these intolerant fanatic perverts, or like, there's many cases like Milo Yiannopoulos or George Takei, they're both like these, blatant homosexuals, and they both have a history of being molested as children or teenagers or whatever, which most likely had an effect on how they are behaving now. So there is at least some sort of correlation between being molested as children and becoming a homosexual. It probably doesn't apply to every homosexual, but yeah, these things, like, children's rights is something that should matter, whether it's, their right not to be raped or murdered in a ritualistic manner. Like, this should be more important than, the feelings of Asians, quote unquote, or Satanists. And yeah, like, why is Christianity and Jesus under all this attack? But well, there's certainly some right-wing groups that criticize Muhammad and make, like, offensive memes about him. But in the public view, it's of course not allowed to criticize Islam or Muslims or, Satanist, or like, well, in the public nowadays, at least, yet I should say, it's not so, common to say like, oh, look at these Satanists, they're so wonderful people, or like, oh, Satanists, they are so much, tolerant, and Christians, like, I've seen a bit of it, but not so much. But it's more like this, like, oh, they don't believe in Satan, or Satan isn't real, duh. But, well, doesn't matter whether you you don't have to believe in that, Allah is God and Muhammad is his prophet, or like, you don't have to believe in Jesus to know that, well, some people just believe in Jesus or Muhammad and all that stuff. So I don't know, like there's just this weird double standard to Satanism, or like, you know, even witchcraft. Like, well, they don't really do magic, so well, they still seem to believe in it. Or like if witches don't believe in the witchcraft, they do, like, you know, a few months ago, these, you know, quote unquote witches, they tried to put a hex on Donald Trump. And well, it's not so much whether you believe that their magic is real or not, but well, these people say that, oh, we're witches, we're using magic. So I don't know, maybe you should activate a few hormones. Like, why are they doing this? Like, are they crazy? Are they real witches, or are they just LARPing? And why should we, like, you know, take it seriously? Or like, I do think we should take it seriously, but like, you know, it's just so like selective, all of this. Like, you know, I suppose I'd like to. Well, no, I don't want to see. I don't want to see Satanists treated equally to Christians and Muslims. Like, I think Islam is like brutal and barbaric, but certainly I think it's much better than Satanism. And, you know, if I had to like take a guess, I'd say that, you know, maybe the police are more like, you know, Satanists or OTO or something like that. Because Aleister Crowley, he said that something like, you know, every child should witness every kind of sexual act in their childhood or something like that. So I do think is this pedophilia stuff that we're seeing, it's due to these, you know, occult beliefs that, and once again, it doesn't matter if there is any kind of, you know, spiritual entity there actually or not, but some people seem to act as if there was. So yeah, still like, yeah, like, you know, people are happy to point out like, oh, Jesus is fictional, and I'm not saying that. I really don't know if Jesus was real or not, or, you know, if Jesus is still real in, you know, some great metaphysical sense, but at least I prefer Jesus to be real to, you know, Molech or whatever, what Lam or whatever was the thing that Aleister Crowley supposedly conjured up. And yeah, it's just like evil is so fucking blatant in modern Western society, and most people are just like, yeah, it's just a bit of fun, it's just memes, yeah, don't take it seriously. Like, no, I'm gonna take it seriously.